Chosen one, today we begin an incredible journey, a journey that starts with the smallest of steps yet has the potential to lead you to greater breakthroughs than you could ever imagine. Micro-obedience, though it may sound simple or insignificant, is the secret that unlocks divine favor and transformation. These seemingly small acts of obedience to God's leading are the keys to experiencing His profound purpose for your life. You might be wondering, can something so small really have such a big impact? The answer is a resounding yes. You see, God is a God of the details. He does not overlook the small things, the quiet moments, or the seemingly insignificant choices you make. In fact, He delights in your obedience in the small things because it demonstrates your trust and willingness to follow Him, even when the outcome seems unclear or distant. Micro-obedience is about paying attention to the little nudges God gives you, those small calls to action, the subtle promptings of the Holy Spirit that may seem insignificant to the world, but are monumental in the eyes of God. God honors small, faithful steps. When you take the time to respond to God's whispers, even in the most mundane moments, you position yourself to experience the flow of His power in ways you can't yet fathom. Every small step of obedience brings you closer to the divine breakthroughs that God has prepared for you. It's the accumulation of these moments that ultimately shape your destiny. You might think that only the big decisions matter, the grand life-changing moments, but it is often in the smallest acts of obedience that God reveals His greatest plans. Consider the story of the mustard seed, one of the smallest seeds in the world. Jesus used it to illustrate the power of faith and obedience in the smallest of actions. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you, Matthew 17:20. The mustard seed is small, but it grows into something incredibly powerful. Your small steps of obedience are just like that mustard seed, small in appearance, but full of potential for transformation. What's so powerful about micro-obedience is that it requires trust. Trust in God's timing, trust in His process, and trust that He will lead you to exactly where you need to go, even if you can't see the end result right away. When you choose to obey God in the small things, you are showing Him that you trust Him with everything, even the things that don't make sense at first. If this message has touched your spirit and you feel ready to release the hurt, type amen below and let heaven see your faith. Share your thoughts on how this message resonates with you and how forgiveness is beginning to change your life. Don't walk this journey alone. Hit subscribe and let's continue to walk together in the freedom and peace that comes from embracing forgiveness. Your transformation starts now. Imagine for a moment a time when you felt prompted to do something small. Perhaps God asked you to reach out to someone, to pray for a stranger, or to make a seemingly insignificant change in your routine. At first, it may have felt like a small step, a tiny action that no one else would have noticed. But the moment you said yes, you stepped into a powerful divine flow, one that brought you closer to God's heart and closer to His purposes for your life. This is the essence of micro-obedience, those small, seemingly insignificant steps that hold the key to unlocking God's greater purpose. God doesn't measure obedience by size. The world may applaud the big achievements and grand gestures, but in God's kingdom, He celebrates faithfulness in the small things. It's about the heart behind the action, the willingness to listen to the still small voice of God and act on it even when no one else is watching. It's about choosing faithfulness over recognition, choosing to follow God's guidance even when you can't see the immediate results or the big picture. What might seem small or unimportant to you is never small to God. He sees the potential in every small step of obedience. Each time you listen to God and take that next small step, you are stepping into His divine plan, even when you don't fully understand where it's leading. God's ways are not our ways, Isaiah 55:8, and His path often involves taking small, humble steps that lead to miraculous outcomes. The divine breakthrough you are waiting for could very well be on the other side of that small act of obedience. Now, chosen one, let me ask you something. How often do you brush off those small nudges from God? How many times have you heard the Holy Spirit whisper, urging you to do something small and simple, but you dismissed it as insignificant or not worth your time? God is calling you to see the power of the small steps, because it's in these moments of obedience that His presence is revealed. Each small act of obedience, when done in faith, becomes part of a larger divine tapestry that only God can see. It's easy to think that our obedience to God must be in big, bold moments, the major life decisions, the public acts of service, the grand gestures of faith. But what if the biggest breakthrough in your life is tied to a simple, everyday act of obedience? What if your obedience to that small prompting today is the key to unlocking a new season of favor and breakthrough tomorrow? When we look at the Bible, we see that God often works through the small, unexpected moments. From David's slingshot to defeat Goliath, to the widow's 2 small coins, to Jesus's quiet teaching in the home of Mary and Martha, God uses seemingly small things to create something extraordinary. Nothing is too small for God to use, and He can take your smallest act of obedience and multiply it in ways that will leave you in awe. So the next time you hear that small, still voice prompting you, do not dismiss it. Instead, lean in and say yes. Take that step of obedience, even if it feels small or insignificant. God is asking you to trust Him in the little things, knowing that the little things are where the miracles begin. In doing so, you are positioning yourself for greater breakthroughs, greater favor, and greater alignment with God's will for your life. Chosen one, small steps of obedience are the key to unlocking your divine breakthrough. They may seem insignificant now, but God is working behind the scenes, weaving these moments into something much greater. As you choose to obey Him in the small things, you will see His divine purposes unfold in ways you could never have imagined. Chosen one, now that you've begun to understand the power of microobedience, it's essential to dive deeper into why these small steps matter so much. In a world that often celebrates quick results and big victories, it can be easy to overlook the importance of the small, quiet moments where God is calling you to act. Yet it's precisely in these moments that the greatest transformation begins. God honors small, faithful steps, and these steps are the foundation for the divine favor and breakthroughs that you are seeking. You might wonder, why does God care about small actions? It's a valid question, and the answer lies in the very nature of God's kingdom. God values faithfulness not just in the big moments, but in the everyday, mundane acts of obedience. Small steps of obedience demonstrate the heart of a servant who is willing to listen to God in all circumstances. God doesn't overlook these moments. He sees them as acts of love, trust, and surrender to His will. God often uses small, faithful actions to prepare you for bigger assignments. Consider this: if you are faithful with the small tasks, God knows He can trust you with the larger ones. The small steps are like training grounds where you learn to rely on God, listen to His voice, and build the muscle of obedience. In these quiet moments, God shapes your character, strengthens your faith, and aligns your heart with His. In Luke 16:10, Jesus says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." This verse is a powerful reminder that God doesn't overlook the little things. In fact, he often entrusts us with small tasks to test our hearts and prepare us for greater responsibilities. How we respond to the small moments reveals how we will handle the larger opportunities that come our way. Small steps of obedience are foundational, not just for the present, but for the future God has prepared for you. But why is it so important to start small? We live in a world that is obsessed with instant results, grand gestures, and visible success. Society often tells us that only the big moments matter and that only the loudest actions are worth acknowledging. But God's ways are different. In God's economy, the small hidden things carry eternal weight. These small acts of obedience are not just for the moment, they are an investment in your spiritual growth, your relationship with Mom, and your divine purpose. Small steps lead to big revelations. When you obey God in the little things, you position yourself to receive more from Him. God often uses small acts of obedience to unlock greater understanding of His will and to guide you into deeper revelation of His plans for your life. It's in the small, quiet acts that you begin to hear His voice more clearly and to discern His leading in ways you might not have noticed before. There's a beautiful example of this in the story of the feeding of the 5,000. John 6:1-14. In this story, Jesus takes a small boy's lunch, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and multiplies it to feed thousands of people. What might have seemed like a small, insignificant offering became the miracle that provided for thousands. That boy could have easily thought his lunch was too small to make any difference. But when he offered it in obedience to Jesus, God multiplied it in a way that no one could have expected. Small acts of obedience bring exponential impact when they are placed in the hands of God. What small step is God asking you to take today? Is there something in your life, perhaps an area of your heart, a relationship, or a task that God is calling you to surrender? You might feel that the task is insignificant or that it won't make much difference in the grand scheme of things. But every act of obedience, no matter how small, positions you for greater blessing and breakthrough. When you trust God with the small things, you give Him the opportunity to do immeasurably more than you could ever imagine. Ephesians 3:20. Small steps of obedience also reveal your heart's posture toward God. Are you willing to listen and follow His leading even when it's not glamorous? True obedience isn't about recognition or accolades. It's about loving God and trusting Him enough to follow His guidance even in the smallest of things. It's in the little things where your faith is tested and where your relationship with God deepens. Every small step is an opportunity to grow in your trust and dependence on Him. Another critical aspect of small steps of obedience is that they keep you grounded in humility. When you're willing to take small, seemingly insignificant actions, you show that you are not driven by the desire for recognition or personal glory. God values a humble heart, one that is willing to serve even when no one is watching. In Matthew 23:11, Jesus reminds us, "The greatest among you will be your servant." Choosing to obey in the small things cultivates a servant's heart, one that seeks to honor God in all things, regardless of the scale or visibility of the task. Small steps of obedience also protect you from the danger of comparison. In a world that constantly encourages us to measure success by the standards of others, it's easy to feel like your small steps don't matter. But God doesn't measure your obedience by comparison. Your obedience is precious to Him because it reflects your love for Him, not because it compares to someone else's journey. Every step you take in obedience is a victory, no matter how small it may seem. Chosen one, I encourage you to begin today. Ask God to reveal the small steps He's calling you to take, the little things that seem insignificant but are significant in His eyes. Trust that each small act of obedience brings you closer to your divine breakthrough. It's not about how grand the step is, it's about the faithfulness and trust you demonstrate in that moment. God uses the small steps to prepare you for something far greater. As you move forward, remember every act of obedience, no matter how small, is a step toward divine transformation. God is working in the details, and through these small, faithful actions, you will see His hand move in ways you've never imagined. Keep walking in obedience, chosen one, and know that every step you take in faith brings you closer to the breakthrough and purpose God has designed for you. Chosen one, as you continue to walk in micro-obedience, you may encounter something crucial on this journey: the challenge of trusting in the little things. The call to obedience can be easy when the steps are big and bold, but when God asks you to take seemingly small or insignificant actions, it's easy to wonder, does this really matter? Why does this small step count? In the world's eyes, the small things can feel trivial. After all, we are often conditioned to think that only the big moments, the grand gestures, the visible achievements are truly significant. But God's kingdom operates on a different principle. He sees the value in the small things, and more than that, He knows the impact they will have. The small steps of obedience are not insignificant. They are critical in His divine plan. God is in the details, and in the act of small obedience, you are not only moving toward your breakthrough, but also aligning yourself with His will and purpose for your life. The challenge of trusting in the little things comes when you can't see the immediate or grand results. It's easy to obey when you know your action will lead to something big, something obvious and visible. But God often asks you to take small steps without showing you the immediate outcome. In these moments, it can be difficult to trust that your obedience truly matters. It feels like you're doing something small that no one notices or appreciates. But God sees and God rewards small acts of obedience. Trusting God in the little things requires faith. It requires you to believe that your small step of obedience today is part of a larger plan, even when you can't see how it fits into the big picture. Faith is trusting that God is working behind the scenes, and that every step of obedience, no matter how small, is part of His greater purpose for your life. God doesn't ask you to understand every part of the plan. He asks you to trust Him and take the next step, even when that next step feels small and insignificant. Let's take a moment to consider how Jesus treated small things. He often used the smallest of examples to illustrate His kingdom principles. One of the most famous examples is the parable of the mustard seed, Matthew 17:20. A mustard seed is tiny, almost invisible, and yet Jesus says that with faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Jesus valued the smallest amount of faith, knowing that even small faith has the power to create immense change. Similarly, in the feeding of the 5,000, Jesus took a small lunch, 5 loaves and 2 fish, and performed a miracle that fed thousands of people. God used something small and insignificant in the eyes of man to bring about something extraordinary. This story is a beautiful reminder that God can take the smallest things, a small act of obedience, a simple prayer, a seemingly trivial gesture of kindness, and turn them into something that has eternal impact. Small steps of obedience are often the most vulnerable ones. When you act in the small things, you're surrendering control. It feels risky to obey when you can't immediately see the results. It feels vulnerable to take action when you're not sure where the path will lead. But that vulnerability is exactly where God wants you. It's in the vulnerability of small obedience that your trust in God deepens. When you step out, even in the smallest act, you demonstrate your trust in Him Trust that He is using your faithfulness even when the outcome is unknown. Obedience in the small things also challenges your pride and self-sufficiency. It forces you to relinquish control. In a world that values self-made success and big results, God often calls us to trust Him in areas where the outcome isn't immediately clear. It's humbling to obey when the results are unseen, but this is where God does His best work. He takes our small, humble offerings and multiplies them in ways we cannot understand. This is His nature, chosen one. He takes the small and makes it great. The challenge of trusting in the little things also means trusting God's timing. It can feel frustrating when you're asked to do something small and you don't immediately see the results. But God is never in a rush. His timing is perfect. Every small step of obedience is part of His larger plan, and when the time is right, He will reveal the impact of your obedience. When we trust God in the little things, we are training our hearts to listen to His voice and follow His lead. The small acts of obedience are moments where we prove our loyalty to God. They teach us to lean on Him, to seek His will above all else, and to embrace His rhythm for our lives. These small steps are what build the foundation for divine breakthroughs, because it is through the practice of faithfulness in small things that we learn to rely on God and believe that He is always working even when we can't see it. The struggle then is not in the size of the step, it's in our willingness to trust God even when we don't understand. Small steps of obedience build trust, cultivate humility, and position us for the breakthroughs we've been waiting for. They prepare us to walk in the fullness of God's plan for our lives. The path to breakthrough is not often a straight line, and it's rarely paved with grand gestures. It's paved with the consistent, faithful obedience to God in the small moments of our everyday lives. Chosen one, I encourage you to start where you are. Take the small steps. Trust God with the little things even when they don't seem to matter. These acts of obedience are not small to God. They are part of the process that leads to your divine breakthrough. He is building something eternal in you, and He sees the faithfulness in your small steps. He is positioning you for the future He has for you, and each step of obedience brings you closer to the life you were destined to live. Chosen one, as you continue to embrace microobedience, you will begin to notice something profound. Small steps lead to big revelations. Often we think that grand moments of revelation or divine breakthrough will come through big dramatic actions. But the truth is, God often reveals His greatest truths through the smallest acts of obedience. Every time you take a step of faith, you are not just moving closer to your breakthrough, you are positioning yourself to receive deeper insights, divine wisdom, and understanding that God has been waiting to pour into your life. Think about the times in your life when God has spoken to you most clearly. Was it in a moment of silence, during a simple act of obedience, when your heart was open to His leading? God often speaks the loudest in the quietest moments. These small steps taken in faith open the door for divine revelation. They align your heart with God's will, and in that alignment He speaks, He reveals, He guides. It is through these small steps of obedience that we become attuned to His voice and prepared to hear the deeper revelations He has for us. God often leads us in small ways because He is building in us a deeper trust. When we obey in the little things, we show God that we can be trusted with more. The small steps are like a training ground for the larger assignments He has in store for you. Think of the story of Abraham. God didn't ask him to sacrifice Isaac all at once. He started by asking Abraham to move from his home to a place he didn't know, Genesis 12. That was a small step in the grand scheme of Abraham's journey, but it was foundational. Abraham's obedience to the small step opened the door to greater trust and revelation. When you take a small step of obedience, God begins to reveal more of himself to you. He gives you the wisdom, direction, and understanding that you need to move forward with greater confidence and clarity. The more you obey in the little things, the more God trusts you with greater things. Small steps lead to greater revelation because every step of obedience shows your willingness to align your life with His will. As you continue on this path of micro-obedience, you will begin to notice that these small acts of obedience are not just leading you to breakthroughs in your circumstances, they are leading you to deeper revelations of God's heart and purpose for your life. Small steps open the door for God to show you His greater plan. They bring you into deeper intimacy with Him, where you begin to see and understand more of His divine purposes. But there's another aspect of small steps leading to big revelations. It's not just about receiving revelation about your future, but about the revelation of God's character in the process. The more you step in faith, the more you experience God's faithfulness, provision, and love. With every small act of obedience, you get a glimpse into the depths of His heart. The small steps help you discover that God is always with you, guiding, leading, and providing. For example, when God told the Israelites to march around the walls of Jericho, the command seemed completely illogical. Marching in silence for 6 days and shouting on the seventh day was not a military strategy. It was a step of obedience, a small action that required trust in God's process. The walls didn't fall because of the Israelites' military might, they fell because of their obedience. In their obedience, they received the revelation of God's power. Their small steps led to the big revelation God was with them and He would deliver them in miraculous ways. Their obedience didn't just lead to a physical breakthrough, it led to a deeper revelation of God's faithfulness and power. Just as the Israelites received divine revelation in the act of obedience, so too will you experience God's greater wisdom and understanding as you take small steps of faith. Every time you choose obedience, you are opening your heart to new levels of understanding. Your obedience positions you to see God's hand at work in ways you might have never noticed before. The small steps also prepare you to receive greater revelation about yourself. As you walk with God in obedience, He reveals more about who you are, your strengths, your purpose, your gifts, and even the areas where you still need growth. Every small step of obedience helps you understand God's purpose for you and align your life with His calling. The process of walking in obedience is not just about accomplishing tasks, it is about becoming more of who God created you to be. Small steps lead to big revelations about your true identity in Christ. But there is a challenge in this process. Often the small steps of obedience don't feel like they matter. They can feel insignificant or like you are simply going through the motions without seeing any immediate results. It's easy to question if your obedience is really making a difference when the impact is not immediately visible. But remember, God sees every act of obedience and He honors it. In His timing, He will reveal the results of your obedience, and He will use those small steps to open the door to something far greater than you could ever imagine. In your daily walk with God, there will be moments where you feel like the small steps are taking too long, or that they're not making a noticeable difference. But trust this, every small step is leading you closer to something profound. Your obedience is not in vain. God is always working behind the scenes to bring about His perfect plan for your life, chosen one. I encourage you to keep taking those small steps of obedience. Even when they don't seem significant, trust that they are leading you toward deeper revelation of God's will for your life. God will reveal His heart His plans, and His power to you in ways you've never imagined as you walk in obedience. The more you walk in these small steps of faith, the more you will experience the fullness of His purpose for your life. Chosen one, as you continue your journey of micro-obedience, there will be moments where the small steps God calls you to take will seem so ordinary, so insignificant, that you may question whether they are truly making a difference. But here is a powerful truth you must grasp. Obedience in the quiet moments of life is where God works the most profound miracles. It's in the ordinary that God does the extraordinary. You may not always see the immediate impact of your obedience, and the results may not be visible right away, but rest assured that every act of obedience carries divine weight. Obeying in the quiet moments when no one is watching or applauding is where God is forming you. This is where your faith is tested and grown. When you trust God with small, often unnoticed actions, He is preparing you for the breakthroughs and callings that lie ahead. Think about the daily routines that fill your life: waking up, making breakfast, going to work, serving others. These are the places where God often calls you to act with integrity, kindness, and obedience. In the small daily moments of your life, God is shaping your character and preparing you for something bigger. Those seemingly insignificant choices to love, serve, forgive, or simply trust God in your routine are all part of a greater divine plan. God is doing a deep work in you through these small, quiet steps, even if the results are not immediately visible. One of the most profound examples of obedience in small moments comes from the life of Jesus Himself. Jesus didn't perform all of His miracles in the most dramatic of ways. Many times His miracles were birthed from humble, quiet moments. Think about how Jesus performed His first miracle, turning water into wine at a wedding in Cana, John 2, 1-11. It seemed like a small, almost trivial need at the time, but Jesus, through an act of obedience to His Father, performed a miracle that transformed the lives of those present. No one even knew what had happened until the steward tasted the wine and marveled at it. This miracle, though quiet and unnoticed by most, set the stage for a lifetime of divine encounters and divine breakthroughs. It is in these moments, the quiet, unseen moments of obedience, that God begins to shift things in the spiritual realm. Your willingness to obey God in the little things creates a ripple effect that brings change not only to your life, but to the lives of those around you. You may not always see the immediate results, but know this: every small step of obedience is part of a larger eternal plan that God is orchestrating in and through you. It's easy to be distracted by the loud, flashy moments of life and to overlook the quiet nudges of God. We live in a world that values speed, visibility, and immediate results. But God's timing is different. He often uses the quiet, patient moments of life to refine our character and build our faith. These moments are not wasted. They are building your spiritual endurance, and with each obedient step, you are becoming more like Christ. This transformation doesn't happen through big, bold acts alone. It happens through daily choices to follow God, even when it seems like no one is looking. The challenge, chosen one, is that it's often hard to see the significance of these quiet acts of obedience. We live in a culture that craves instant results, but God works in the small, steady moments. The act of making the right choice, even when no one else notices, is an act of faith and trust in God's bigger plan for your life. The small, hidden things matter to God. He sees the sacrifice, the service, the love, the quiet obedience. He is using those moments to prepare you for what is ahead. It's also important to note that obedience in the small moments is a way for you to align your heart with God's heart. When you act in obedience, even in the seemingly small things, you align yourself with God's will. It's in these moments that you learn to hear God's voice more clearly, to respond with trust and faith. The more you obey in the small moments, the more you will recognize God's voice in the larger moments. Consider the act of serving others. It may seem small, helping a neighbor, volunteering your time, or offering a listening ear. Yet God honors these acts of service. Jesus himself was the ultimate example of a servant living out a life of humility and obedience. In the smallest moments, like washing the feet of his disciples, John 13:1-17. He showed us that the way to greatness in God's kingdom is through service, through the small, quiet acts of love that reflect his heart. When you serve in the quiet moments, you are being faithful to the call of God. God sees the heart behind the service, and he rewards that faithfulness. You may not always see the immediate effects of your service, but God is at work in ways that go beyond what you can comprehend. Your obedience in serving others creates ripples of change that have eternal significance. There is also an incredible power in small acts of obedience in the areas of personal discipline. Every small decision you make to spend time with God, pray, read his word, or practice gratitude is an act of obedience that aligns your heart with his. Even when it feels like these moments are insignificant, know that they are building a foundation for your spiritual growth. Over time, these small steps of obedience cultivate a deeper relationship with God and prepare you to handle greater challenges, responsibilities, and divine revelations. As you continue to take small steps of obedience, remember that these moments are not in vain. They are building your character, your faith, and your trust in God. Your quiet obedience has the potential to change not only your life, but also the world around you. God is at work in the small, unseen moments. He is cultivating something beautiful in you through each act of love, kindness, service, and surrender. Chosen one, let these small steps lead you to greater transformation. Obey in the quiet moments and trust that God is using these moments to shape your destiny. Even when no one sees, God is faithful to reward your obedience. Step into the fullness of what God has prepared for you and know that each small act of obedience positions you for the divine breakthroughs that are waiting for you. Chosen one, as you continue to embrace microobedience and the small, seemingly insignificant steps of faith, one thing you'll begin to notice is that obedience in the little things creates a ripple effect, one that not only impacts your life, but spreads out to those around you. It may seem like these small acts of obedience are isolated and personal, but in reality, they have the power to affect your family, your community, and even the world. This ripple effect can be a powerful tool in transforming lives and building God's kingdom. Your small steps of obedience serve as a testimony to those around you, a testimony of what it looks like to trust God in the little moments, to be faithful when no one is watching, and to obey when it doesn't make sense. Every small act of obedience you make creates a wave of influence that can touch the hearts of others, often in ways you cannot foresee. One of the most profound examples of this ripple effect is found in the story of the widow's 2 small coins in Luke 21:1-4. In this story, Jesus observes a poor widow who gives all that she has, just 2 small coins. To the world, it seems insignificant, almost laughable, but Jesus sees her heart. He praises her for giving everything she had, revealing that her small, faithful act was more significant than the larger contributions of the wealthy. Her obedience in the small thing became a powerful example for all who witnessed it. This act of faith not only impacted her life, but also left a lasting testimony of radical obedience that has inspired countless others throughout the centuries. Just like the widow, when you obey in the small things, you never know who will be watching? Your obedience can inspire others to trust God in their own lives, to step out in faith, and take their own small steps toward obedience. The ripple effect of your obedience is felt far beyond your own life. It has the potential to bring transformation to others, whether they are family members, co-workers, friends, or even strangers. Small, consistent acts of obedience in your daily life serve as powerful examples of God's faithfulness and can draw others to a deeper understanding of His love and grace. This ripple effect is not just about influencing others in the moment, it's about leaving a legacy of faithfulness and trust in God that continues long after you've taken those steps. Your obedience, though small, is a seed that grows into something far greater than you could have imagined. The small steps you take today can have an eternal impact on the lives of those who come after you, whether in your family, your community, or even in future generations. In 2 Timothy 2:2, Paul writes, "And the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others." This verse highlights the power of discipleship in passing on the lessons we've learned to others. Your small steps of obedience are not only shaping your own life, but are creating an opportunity to teach others what it looks like to follow Christ faithfully. Each act of obedience serves as a lesson for someone else, whether intentional or not. Your quiet, consistent faithfulness has the power to multiply and create a ripple effect that extends far beyond your immediate circle. There is another aspect of the ripple effect of obedience that is often overlooked, and that is the way your obedience impacts your own spiritual growth. The more you practice obedience, even in the small things, the more you are aligning yourself with God's will. You are not just changing the world around you, but you are being transformed into a person who reflects God's character more clearly. Every small act of obedience strengthens your spiritual muscles, helping you grow in grace, patience, humility, and love. Obedience changes you. It refines your character. It deepens your relationship with God. Through each small step, you become more attuned to His voice, more aligned with His will, and more rooted in His truth. The ripple effect begins within you, shaping your life in ways that impact others without you even realizing it. Your life becomes a living testimony of what it looks like to trust God in the everyday moments. As others see your trust in God and your willingness to obey, in the little things they are drawn to the beauty of a life lived in obedience to God. Now let's take a moment to reflect on the ripple effect in the context of your personal relationships. Whether in your family, your friendships, or your work environment, your obedience to God in the small things directly impacts the relationships around you. When you obey God in the small things, being kind, being patient, offering a helping hand, choosing forgiveness those around you notice, you begin to create an atmosphere of love, peace, and grace that draws others to the presence of God. Your obedience becomes a tool for healing and reconciliation, helping to mend broken relationships and open doors for deeper connection and understanding. Obedience in the small moments creates a culture of honor where those around you are inspired to live with the same intentionality and obedience. When you choose to forgive, to serve, to speak words of life, you are planting seeds of transformation in the lives of others. Your small act of kindness, a word of encouragement, or a prayer spoken over someone can have lasting effects in their hearts. But there is an even deeper layer to this ripple effect, the impact of your obedience on God's kingdom. Every small act of obedience is part of the greater work of spreading God's love and truth in the world. You may never fully see the full impact of your obedience, but know that God is using your faithfulness to further His kingdom. Through your obedience, as the gospel is shared, lives are transformed, and the light of Christ shines brighter in the world. Your obedience is not just a personal act, it is a kingdom-building action. Even in the smallest of steps, God is using you to build His kingdom on earth, one act of obedience at a time. Your obedience creates a ripple effect that touches eternity, impacting lives in ways you will never fully understand this side of heaven. Chosen one, I encourage you to take the next step, no matter how small it seems. Know that every act of obedience, no matter how insignificant it may seem to you, has the power to bring transformation to your life, the lives of others, and the world around you. God sees your faithfulness, and He is using it in ways that will echo for eternity. Continue to trust Him in the small moments. Your obedience is creating a ripple effect that will change the world. Chosen one, as you continue walking in micro-obedience, there will be times when you may feel like your small steps are insignificant or even unnoticed. The world around you may prioritize the big, the bold, and the obvious, but God's kingdom works in the opposite direction. The small acts of obedience, the quiet moments, the everyday choices are where the true breakthroughs happen. But here's the challenge: remaining faithful to these small steps when they don't seem to lead anywhere. How do you persevere in those moments when the outcome of your obedience seems distant or when it feels like nothing is changing? It's in these times that your faith is tested and your commitment to God's will is refined. Perseverance in small acts of obedience, even when the results seem delayed, and is where true growth happens. There's a divine paradox here. What seems like the slow, incremental process of waiting and trusting is actually a deeply transformative experience. Every moment of obedience, no matter how small, is a seed being planted for a future harvest. The waiting period can be the hardest part. We are so conditioned to expect immediate results in a world that thrives on speed and instant gratification. Yet God's ways are different. His timetable is often slower, and He doesn't rush the process of transformation. He delights in using the small, seemingly insignificant steps to build endurance and character. It's in the small moments of waiting and trusting that you are being prepared for the bigger things. Perseverance in the small things is part of God's training ground for your life. Think about the story of Joseph, whose life was marked by small acts of obedience. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, falsely accused of a crime, and thrown into prison. Yet through it all, Joseph remained obedient to God even when the outcome seemed hopeless. His journey was long and filled with adversity. But Joseph's obedience in the small, hidden moments prepared him for the greatness that God had in store for him. He learned perseverance. He trusted God even when it seemed like his obedience wasn't leading anywhere. Eventually, God raised him up to a place of authority, and through his obedience, he saved an entire nation. Joseph's story serves as a powerful reminder that even when your obedience doesn't seem to be producing results right away, God is working in the unseen, and your faithfulness is never in vain. God sees every step you take in obedience, and He is faithful to bring the fruit of that obedience to fruition in His perfect time. Trusting in the process, even when the outcome is unclear, is a key to seeing God's faithfulness at work. Perseverance in small obedience also involves resisting the temptation to compare your journey with others. It's easy to look at someone else's seemingly faster or more dramatic success and wonder why your small steps aren't yielding the same results. But chosen one, God has a unique path for you. Your journey is different from anyone else's. The small steps you're taking now, the obedience you're cultivating in the quiet moments, are preparing you for something beautiful and eternal. Don't rush the process and don't compare your story to anyone else's. Stay faithful in your own walk, trusting that God is working in you and through you in ways you may not yet see. Remember that God works in seasons, and each season of obedience prepares you for the next. There will be seasons of waiting, of sowing, of patiently walking in small acts of obedience. But know this: God does not waste a single moment of your obedience. Every small act of faithfulness is building a foundation that will lead to breakthroughs. The harvest comes in God's timing. It's also important to remember that obedience is not always easy. There will be times when it feels difficult, when you wonder if the small steps you are taking will really make a difference. But in these moments, you are being refined. Your trust in God is being strengthened. Each small step is shaping your character and preparing you for what's to come. Persevering in obedience is not about seeing instant results. It's about cultivating a heart of faithfulness, a heart that trusts God's timing, even when you can't see the end result. Take, for example, the story of the Apostle Paul. Paul's life was filled with moments of trial and hardship, but he remained faithful to the call God had placed on his life. He endured imprisonment, persecution, and isolation. Yet in all of that, Paul remained obedient to the small daily steps of following God. In Philippians 3-14, Paul writes, "I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." His perseverance in obedience, even in the face of difficulty, led to a profound impact on the world. Paul's faithfulness, though it often seems small and unnoticed, resulted in an incredible spiritual legacy. God's work in you is never wasted, chosen one. Every act of obedience, no matter how small it seems, is building something significant. Even when you can't see the results immediately, God is always at work. He is working in your character, in your heart, and in your trust. And as you persevere in obedience, you will begin to see the fruit of your faithfulness unfold. God will bring about the breakthrough you've been praying for, but the key is to stay faithful in the small steps. So if you find yourself in a season where the small steps feel hard, or where the breakthrough seems distant, don't give up. Keep going, keep trusting, keep taking that next small step, no matter how insignificant it feels. God sees you, and He is using every small act of obedience to shape your destiny. The breakthrough will come, but it will come in God's timing, and it will be far greater than you could have imagined. Chosen one, perseverance in the small steps of obedience is not just about the result. It's about the transformation that happens in you. It's about your character being molded, your faith being refined, and your trust in God deepening. God is using this time to prepare you for something greater. Stay faithful, stay obedient, and trust that every step you take is leading you to your divine breakthrough. Chosen one, as we near the end of this journey, it is time to reflect on how micro-obedience has been at work in your life and how it prepares you to step into the divine breakthroughs God has waiting for you. Every small step of faithfulness, every moment of trusting God in the little things has been preparing you for something much greater. Now, as you continue to take these small steps, you are positioning yourself for a divine breakthrough, a breakthrough that will not only impact your life, but also the lives of others. The beauty of micro-obedience is that it is the foundation for breakthrough. We often think that breakthrough is about the big dramatic moments, the moments when everything suddenly changes, when the heavens open and we receive what we've been praying for. But true divine breakthrough often comes in the quiet moments of obedience. It comes through consistent small acts of faithfulness that align our hearts with God's will, making us ready to receive what He has prepared for us. The small steps you've taken, those small acts of obedience, the quiet moments when you've chosen to trust God, even without seeing the full picture, are leading you into the breakthrough God has for you. These moments of obedience have been planting seeds for the future, and the harvest is on its way. God is faithful to reward the small steps of obedience with the fullness of His promises. There's a scripture in Zechariah 4:10 that says, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." This verse is a beautiful reminder that God sees and rejoices in every small step. When you take those steps, even when they seem insignificant or delayed, God is working behind the scenes. He is orchestrating your life in ways that you can't fully comprehend yet. Every small step is a step closer to the breakthrough He has ordained for you. Micro-obedience is the key to being ready for that breakthrough. It's about faithfulness in the process, knowing that the breakthrough won't necessarily come in the way or at the time you expect, but that it will come in God's perfect timing. The key is to keep being faithful in the small steps because each one is preparing you for what is to come. As you've learned, the process of micro-obedience shapes your character and molds your heart. With every small act of obedience, you grow in humility, trust, and dependence on God. You learn to lean on His guidance, not on your own understanding or abilities. This is exactly what positions you for breakthrough. When you become so deeply dependent on God, your heart is aligned with His will, and you are prepared to receive the fullness of what He has for you. Let's take a moment to reflect on the impact of micro-obedience in your spiritual journey. Perhaps over time you have noticed the small shifts in your heart, in your actions, and in your perspective. God has been doing a deep work within you, changing you from the inside out. Each step of obedience has refined your character. Each step has helped you become more patient, more faithful, and more obedient to His voice. These changes might seem subtle, but they are incredibly significant. God is refining your heart in these moments, preparing you for greater responsibility and impact. The breakthrough you've been praying for, the dream you've been believing for, is not just about the external circumstances. It's also about the inner transformation that God has been doing in you, molding you into the person He needs you to be for the next season. Remember the story of David, chosen one. God didn't take David from the field and put him on the throne of Israel overnight. David's journey began with small steps, caring for sheep, protecting them from predators, and learning to rely on God. But it was in these small moments, in the quiet acts of obedience, that God shaped David's heart and made him ready for the throne. The breakthrough didn't come until David had been prepared. Your breakthrough will come in the same way after a season of preparation, growth, and refining through small acts of obedience. Now let's talk about the breakthrough itself. Breakthroughs are not just about receiving answers to prayer or seeing circumstances change. A breakthrough is a divine shift that aligns your life with God's purpose, bringing you into a new season of greater effectiveness, peace, and alignment with His will. Your small steps of obedience are preparing the ground for this shift. Breakthrough is often the culmination of many small unseen steps that gradually move you into a new season of favor, success, and alignment with God's plan. As you keep taking those small steps, God is opening doors that you may not yet be able to see. He is preparing you for new opportunities, new levels of influence, and a greater outpouring of His blessing. But here's the thing, chosen one breakthrough is not always what you expect it to be. God's breakthroughs often come in unexpected ways. They may not look like the big dramatic moments you imagine. Sometimes breakthroughs come in the form of new perspectives, a deeper understanding of God's will, or the peace that comes with knowing you are walking in His purpose. The breakthrough may not always look like a sudden dramatic change in circumstances, but rather an inner shift that prepares you for what's next. As you continue to take small steps in obedience, trust that the breakthrough is coming. God is not overlooking your efforts. He sees your faithfulness. He sees every prayer, every act of service, every choice to walk in obedience, and He is using them to prepare you for something bigger than you can imagine. So, chosen one, keep going. Keep taking those small steps of obedience, knowing that they are preparing you for the breakthrough that God has for you. Your faithfulness in the small things is not unnoticed by God. He is working behind the scenes and the harvest is coming. The breakthrough is on its way and it will be greater than you could have imagined. Step into the next season of your life with confidence, knowing that your obedience is leading you towards something far beyond what you can see now. God is faithful and His plans for you are good. Keep walking, keep trusting, and watch as He moves in your life in miraculous ways.